Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Fly Like an Eagle podcast. I'm here with a very special guest from Birds Over the Boys. It is Mr. Cody Jammer. He amasses 28,400 followers on Twitter, posting on average 3 to 5 times a day. Mr. Cody Jammer, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on your show.
Yeah, no problem. Now, the first question I have to ask you, what do you think about the second round pick? Everyone in the city of Philadelphia is kind of like 50-50 about it, but there's some people out there that, they're trying to get used to it. They're trying to pretend like they don't hate it because he's on the squad, even though he doesn't really bring much to the table, even though, honestly, I don't think he's a good quarterback at all. I've watched him at Alabama and Oklahoma. The guy can't throw for shit, but that's for another day. What do you think about that?
I guess situation, right? Is it that the signing happened? I said what about 3 times, and then it went on to going, I said, oh boy, this is the Eagles' idea of an insurance policy for Wentz. And I'm not going to call him injury prone, but getting injured 3 seasons back to back to back. And this is what the Eagles pulled. So right now you're looking at a situation where the Eagles either made a massive mistake to signing Wentz to over $100 million, or they made the mistake of drafting Jalen Hurts in the second round. And either way, it's almost a lose situation.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Jalen Hurts.
If that makes sense.
No, it makes a ton of sense to me. Jalen Hurts to me, like personally, me being a gambler, all right, Jalen Hurts to me was a 5th round draft pick to undrafted. All right. And they picked him in the second round because, quote unquote, we didn't want another Russell Wilson to slip by us because they lost out on Russell Wilson in 2012. So they thought that that Jalen Hurts was going to be a Russell Wilson. No, he's not a very good quarterback. That's why he lost his job to Tua being a freshman. That's why he lost his job, because he's not very good.
He lost his job in the middle of a championship round. Granted, the rest of the team started trying harder. The defense stepped up all of a sudden, but it did that spark to the offense. Yeah, for the championship game. I think we were watching that together. That was a few years back, actually.
Yeah, Tua came in 3 years ago. He played for the team the last 4 years, and he was a freshman. He came in at halftime and won the game.
Yeah, and now everyone wants to act. I keep hearing this. They're going to have to use – he's a second-round pick. Otherwise, this is going to be one of the biggest second-round blunders of all time with Howie Roseman, and this is going to put him on the hot seat. So they're going to have to use him in some sense. I just didn't expect – you don't really use a second-rounder for a Jason Tatum-styled offense.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't see that happening.
Taysom Hill down there in New Orleans, he's used as a gadget player. I don't see it with Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts, you're going to use him more as a running back. But if you want to get a running back, why didn't you trade up for like Jonathan Taylor or Swift from Georgia? Like that's
what I'm saying. Exactly. Yeah. And we just re-signed Corey Clement, which I'm glad he's back, because when he's healthy, he can be a beast. But I mean, his history of injuries. He's 25 years old, and he's been riddled injury after injury after injury. And we know that with the Eagles, anyone that joins the squad, I mean, they hit the injury plague every single time, and I hate to see it, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, we lost Jordan Howard. I think he went to Miami, right, if I'm not mistaken. We lost Jordan Howard, and we lost that bruiser. We don't have a bruiser on the team right now. Everyone's talking about Holyfield's son. I mean, I don't see it. What did we draft him in the 6th round, 5th round? So, I mean, you're going to get him
something like
Jordan
that.
Howard. I mean, Howie Roseman, I've never liked Howie Roseman personally. I always thought he sucked. I thought the Super Bowl was because of Joe Douglas. I'm not going to turn back on that. Other than the Jalen Hurts saga, I think that he had a decent draft because we felt the need. We filled the needs that we needed to. But this Jalen Hurts pick was one of the worst picks I've personally ever been a part of in Philadelphia Eagles history.
Well, if you had to have it your way, all right, we're talking Burger King here. If we're not Howard. Okay, so you're sitting in the situation. Eagles on the board in a couple picks. Atlanta Falcons. I know we were trying to pry that pick, apparently, trying to trade up.
No.
But they had their eyes set on the defensive back. Apparently, from what I've heard, 2 different things right there. So even if we were, would you have taken CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, or Jalen Reagor in the 1st round?
It's crazy. It's funny you brought that up because I loved CeeDee Lamb in the draft. I always wanted CeeDee Lamb. He was my favorite wide receiver on the board. I didn't like Judy. I didn't like Ruggs. But it was between him and Reagor. At 17, I was actually a little bit pissed off. I did a reaction for the draft. I was pissed off at the time because me and my friend Zomp, who's on the podcast with me, shout out, he wanted CeeDee Lamb, and when the Cowboys stole him from us, I was telling him before they drafted him, I was like, the Cowboys are going to take him away from us because they care about us losing more than them winning. And as soon as that happened, I was like, well, there's the guy. And all of a sudden, they drafted my guy, Jalen Reagor, and I was happy again. But up until that point, yeah, I was kind of pissed. I'm not going to lie.
I feel like they did it out of spite for us trading up and taking Dallas Goedert in 2018. I don't know if that's true. They obviously they're adding weapons to Dak. They're going to continue making Dak's legacy look like, they're going to continue the debate and make Dak look like a better quarterback than what he really is. I mean, they're surrounding him by superior weapons. I mean, you put Carson Wentz in that offense.
Mhm.
Stays healthy, you're winning like 3 Super Bowls in a row. Honestly, that offense is ridiculous, from the O-line to the running back to the wide receivers, Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup and now CeeDee Lamb. It's ridiculous.
Now, I have a good comment in the comment section. Why do you like Rager but not Ruggs? Personally, I'm going to tell you right here, right now. Nobody saw Rager because he was on TCU. He had one of the worst quarterbacks of all time thrown his way. I think he had a catchable ball rate of like 31% during his, junior year of TCU.
Right around there.
Yeah. I mean, people like Justin Jefferson, he had a 69.1% catchable ball ratio because he had one of the best LSU quarterbacks thrown his way of all time. So, I mean, it's like apples and oranges. And think of it this way. Jalen Reagor went 21 and Justin Jefferson went 22. So on your board, if you pick Reagor against Jefferson, what does that tell you? You're a GM picking that, And the year before, Jalen Reagor was projected to go in the top 15. So it's just my opinion. The reason why I like Reagor over Ruggs is because Ruggs was on TV every single week, and I feel he's very overrated just because his speed is more like you saw his speed more because he was with Alabama. But if you watch TCU film, I feel like Jalen Reagor is the more polished wide receiver, so that's why I go Jalen Reagor.
I'm excited for Jalen Reagor. I mean, if it came between the two, if it came between all three, I wasn't the biggest Justin Jefferson fan at all. I guess maybe because it gave me the reminder of almost like an Alshon Jeffrey role. I was concerned with him playing outside. I mean, the tape says differently from what I say, but that's just a personal opinion. See, if I had the decision between the both of Henry Ruggs and Jalen Reagor, I would have sold my soul and taken Henry Ruggs any day of the week, or even Jerry Jeudy, just because of the outside speed. I just think we haven't had that outside speed since Deshaun Jackson, and I mean, he's coming back, of course, after the injury, but we drafted him in 2008.
Yeah. Well, Deshaun Jackson's pissed as well. You saw him on Instagram.
We haven't had the speed since then.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
No. What I said was Deshaun Jackson's actually really pissed off. He said, I'm here to prove something. I'm not a number 3 wide receiver. I'm a number 1. And I feel like he's going to have a Pro Bowl season next year. I really do.
The thing is, though, I think he's taking it in the wrong sense. I don't think anyone was really looking at him that he was anything less than the number 1. I just think, hey, we're just like, Bud, you have a history of injuries. We love you. I mean, you've had one of the greatest Eagles plays of all time, Miracle in the Meadowlands, but you have to stay healthy. I mean, every season he has about a 50% chance, over 50% chance of getting injured next season, just by going with his statistics and his injury history. And that's not good moving forward, especially with his age. He's like 32 years old now. Yeah,
I mean, he's turning 33 this year, and you got the 4.22, 4.23 guy from TCU to take his place, obviously, and you have Marquise, Marquise Goodwin from the 49ers, which you traded a 6th-round pick for him. So how much value you're going to get for that? Someone said that he's not even going to make the team. So I mean, I'll look more into that, but for right now, I'm clearly kind of off about the Jalen Hurts pick, as are everyone from Philadelphia. They're like 50-50 on it, but that's pretty much for another day.
The sad thing is, the one thing to bring up with Jalen Hurts is that the second Wentz has one little issue, whether, Atlanta last year holding his ribs, people are going to be like, Jalen Hurts. They're going to be screaming for that.
Not me. I mean,
he's not ready, clearly.
I'm the biggest critic of Carson Wentz in the city of Philadelphia. And if Hurts went in, I'd say we'd win probably 3 games that year at most.
If he went in by like week 1, 3 games.
Hurts is a horrible QB.
He's a rookie though. He wasn't a projected star coming out like Joe Burrow. Even if he had Joe Burrow coming in, might be a little bit of a different story. Maybe a little bit more wins, but it's a rookie quarterback that needs time to develop in the NFL. And he's young.
I had him I had him into the 5th round to undrafted. I gambled.
And you see,
Cody, I gambled on this guy.
2nd round pick.
I gambled on this guy, and when I was degenerate,
you don't like that.
I gambled on this guy, and I lost so much money because he sucked.
You know what I think? I think's a gambler too, and I don't want to touch too much on it. I think Mike Missanelli, because he seems to get very angry over things where you just question it, and you're like, "Why are you that mad over that situation? It's not that big of a deal." But to each his own.
Look at this comment right here. Born in Philly, raised in Oklahoma. Jalen is the worst QB LU has had in a long time. No accuracy whatsoever. See?
I know. Yeah, dude, he has problems all across the board. That's why it's one of those things. If we picked him up later round in the draft, like fourth, fifth round, maybe if you got lucky, he dropped to the sixth, it'd have been understandable.
Yeah.
But everyone this season, I don't know how he has some diabolical plan or he's just an outright horrible drafter. But he's lighting on fire. All these players want something to prove, and you know damn well Wentz is pissed over that pick,
Oh
and
yeah.
he wants to continue to prove the critics wrong. Dude, he wants to stay healthy. He couldn't help last season. He stayed healthy. How are you supposed to help a concussion? Driving right for the helmet.
I think the only thing that's keeping Wentz from asking for a trade at this point is the fact that he just had a baby girl. I think that's literally the only thing that's keeping him away from doing that.
Because he's so focused on that right now.
Yeah, he is truly pissed off. You can't sit back and tell me that this guy that was almost an MVP candidate in 2017, now the Eagles are like, oh, we're going to draft a QB in the second round who isn't even worthy of it. Like, it's bullshit. And you saw Doug Peterson was laughing about it. Like,
yeah, I keep questioning, when is the point, though? When will this – I'm almost hitting – is this going to be an inevitable point where Carson Wentz is going to be traded the way this team's drafting and given the injury history? Or is this going to turn into an Andrew Luck scenario? I mean, forever, Nick Foles' legacy is going to taint Carson Wentz's unless he wins that Super Bowl. He has to at least play more than a minute into a playoff game. I love Carson Wentz. My Instagram followers, if anyone's in here, they hate when I say one negative thing about him, and I don't mean to say it. I just try and be from an unbiased standpoint from an Eagles fan, is that he just has an unlucky fate with injuries. You can call the ACL a freak accident. You can call the fractured back. He rushed back too early, broken ribs in 2016. It comes to a point where sometimes you might just have to accept bad luck reality.
Or just accept that he's damaged goods and just move on. I mean, at the end of the day, listen, I'm not the one that wants to say that because people come after my throat. They're like, listen, we're going to kick your ass and stuff like that. Listen, I'm the voice of reason. I tell you how you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, And
exactly. That's the way to be, though. You don't want to tell people false reality. And I give Wentz 2 more years, barring a serious injury. If he suffers a serious injury this season, whether it comes early in the season or makes him miss playoff time, I'm hopping off the Wentz wagon right then and there. I can't go a fourth injury in a row and be like, I can't stick up for a person that has been injured. That makes sense. Regardless of what happens, if he gets knocked out of the playoffs and someone else has to step into his place, I can't defend him anymore. And I love Wentz, but one more.
That's all you're giving him.
It depends on the injury. I mean, if he has something small like another fractured rib or something, all right, well, that just shit happens if you get hit there. But if he tears his ACL again, breaks his arm or his collarbone or something insane in the playoffs, it's just like, when will it end? It just turns into bad luck if you believe in luck at that point, or however you want to say it.
Yeah. Nicholas Paz in the comment section asks, can you see Jalen Hurts start at some point in the season? Unfortunately, I can. That is the harsh truth and the harsh reality of it. But honestly, I would start Nate Sudfeld over Jalen Hurts, like I said before, because Jalen Hurts, even though he's a Philadelphia Eagle and I have to support him, he's not very good, and we lose a lot of games with him.
So, and I don't think Nate Sudfeld is. I think Nate Sudfeld's obviously better than Jalen Hurts, but we know how this is going to go. He's going to end up at that secondary position. There was something wrong last season. He breaks his wrist in the second or third preseason game against the Titans last year. And they let the 4-year-old quarterback start in place of Nate Sudfeld, who has the chemistry and the formula and has been with Eagles for several years. That says something about Nate Sudfeld's playing ability. And he's just not that good. He's not a starting quarterback capability in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly. And the guy had a torn who was it? Josh McCown had a torn hamstring coming out of the locker room at halftime. And you're going to tell me that nobody knew about that? Like, it's obvious when you're moving.
And that is one of the most painful injuries to play from. I couldn't even walk with hamstring cramps, and that's like a minuscule level. Like, I just fall straight down. It feels like it's like one of the most painful things you can ever experience. And he played through. I'm sure they shot him up with a bunch of drugs throughout whatever halftime or whenever they snuck it in there. There's no way you could play through that without any amounts level of drugs. And the way he was running it, the only reason why he didn't win, 2 offensive linemen going out, practice squad wide receivers. Zach Ertz was already hurt. Miles Sanders went out. I mean, what are you supposed to do? You can only handle so much between the chemistry and the practice that wasn't even there with those players. How was he even? It just wasn't prepared, and we still hung on for life. So I mean, that was a weak NFC playoffs this year, honestly, in my opinion.
I was at the game, and you know, I was just waiting for it to end. My friend next to me the whole time's like, "Can we leave? Can we leave?" Because he was like, "There's no way Josh McCown is going to win that game for us." I'm like, "Chill, dude. I stayed till like
Yep.
triple zeros." I ended up leaving when he completed it to DK Metcalf because you know I was like, "This game's over. it's over."
I sat there. I sat there and I saw the second Wentz went down. I stared at the stadium floor for like the next 10 minutes. I couldn't even watch. I was like, guys, this is. I went to give it the best hope as possible, but I knew the second Wentz went down. I'm like, this isn't 2017. This isn't Nick Foles, who has the potential of going off at sporadic moments and turning into a Hall of Fame like quarterback. This is Josh McCown, practice squad wide receivers, linemen out, running back out. What are you supposed to do?
High school football coach. He was a part-time high school football coach, and yeah, he's playing.
He went back and forth on airplane rides to help his family out. Everything.
Yep. Yeah, like I'm pretty in the comment section. I'm saying they should have drafted Denzel Mims over Jalen Hurts. I don't like Denzel Mims either. From Baylor, I think he's very overrated. His route running is questionable. Speeds, whatever. I think he ran 4.45 or something like that. You guys in the comment section can bring that up. But there are obviously other options we could have filled at 53, but anyone other than Jalen Hurts. Like I wanted a quarterback in this draft. I did, not Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't a quarterback heavy draft, and it's clear. Obviously, this was one of the most prolific wide receiver drafts of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Hurts, unfortunately, maybe. I mean, guys, we hope for the best. I mean, it's either Jalen Hurts ends up becoming the starting quarterback for a little bit. The worst case scenario I see is with this Eagles team is that Wentz ends up getting traded in a year or two. This team loses all faith in him with injuries, and either Jalen Hurts develops, or we end up signing someone eventually like Aaron Rodgers or Joe Flacco as a veteran quarterback, and then we're in this weird process again where we don't have a franchise back, and then it looks like they're trying to tank. So this was such an important draft for Carson Wentz, and if he stays healthy, all lights are green.
Yeah.
Stay healthy.
Well, like you said, it was,
stay healthy.
It was the most important draft of Carson Wentz's career, and they barely got him any help. That's what's funny about it.
They missed out. He's sitting there, and I know damn well he's watching that because you're the franchise quarterback. You're going to be watching that draft. You're sitting there, and you're like possibly thinking Eagles are getting CeeDee Lamb. You're excited about it. So look at Jalen Reagor. I mean, Wentz can make literally practice squad wide receivers look like Julio Jones out there, like Greg Ward. No disrespect to him. Greg Ward is. I hope he continues to develop, but he's got a lot of competition this year. But Wentz is an amazing quarterback. It's just if he didn't have all these injuries, who knows? The sky's the limit in that category. But
yeah, I mean, he's just very unlucky every single year. But I said in my I said in my draft reaction video that the Eagles would actually be like maybe a 2 seed, 1 seed this year because I have a faith that the team's going to be good. But we still don't have a starting linebacker, and that's an issue. What do you think they're going to do at the linebacking position? And do you see them possibly bring back Nigel Bradham?
They could bring back Nigel Bradham. They did that, I believe, last year. If you could remind me, what was the linebacker's name we drafted? I'm always forgetting. It's something Taylor, Darius Taylor?
Yeah, I know it was a steal in the 3rd round. My friend actually texted me that he moves quick.
Yeah, he might end up turning into a starting linebacker position. Now, we run the 4-3 offense, so right. we're not linebacker heavy like the Ravens do. They run the 3-4.
Yeah.
So I'm not too concerned about that area, and I'll tell you why. So we have the most versatile defenses in the entire NFL.
Yeah.
You got Darius Slay, one of the best cornerbacks. You got Jalen Mills moving to safety. You have Roddy McLeod, who can, he's fairly decent.
Whatever.
You're not asking for the best safety in the league. You got Will Parks, who you brought over from the Broncos. Young guy, a lot of potential, can play, I believe it's the nickel position. He can play safety, and he can play linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
That's 3 versatile. And then now you have Darius Taylor, who could long arms, fast, athletic, hard hitter. You got Quan Alexander out of Clemson possibly coming in here. You got Ronald Darby gone.
Yeah.
And you're looking at the front line. You're looking at Derek Barnett and Brandon Graham and Malik Jackson finally come back. We didn't even get to see him last season. He got injured week 1. You got Hargrave, who we haven't even talked about in weeks. I mean, so that being said, which to all those players mentioned out there, you have players that could switch around positions should injuries occur. You got Cravon LeBlanc that can come in there. You got Rasul Douglas, who I hope is potentially gone, possibly in some future trade package. We don't know.
Right.
But players can switch around. Injuries are going to happen. They're going to happen to our offense. They're going to happen to our defense. I don't care what you say. No one's going to be healthy by the end of the season. We don't know who's going to be injured. But you got players and depth this year like no other. And I'm more confident with the defense this year than the offense.
Right.
If
I
that
mean,
makes any sense.
I want Yannick Ngagwe from Jacksonville badly. You know, that's who I've been keeping my eyes on. And it seems like the front office doesn't give a shit because he's only 24 years old. I think he just turned 25, actually. He's 25 years old, and, you know, he's right there for the taking. He hates it out there in Jacksonville, and they just won't give him anything. You know, so whatever.
See, I be for him. I just think our D line at the set, half of me says, "Hey, let's go out and snab him. Let's throw in some draft picks. Maybe we could throw in like Alshon and Razul or something else." I don't really. Jacksonville's kind of a mess all over. I mean, they pay these quarterbacks and let them go like nothing. They give them no chance. You know, it's like Blake Bortles and Nick Foles. Aren't they? They're still paying for the both of them. They don't know what they're doing down in Jacksonville. So Howie Roseman is a contract genius in that aspect. Bad drafter as of now, but a contract genius. So maybe a negotiator. You know, Alshon Jeffrey, Jordan Howard, Golden Tate trade paid off in Chicago with that touchdown catch.
Yep.
So what if he can work out some crazy trade deal with Jacksonville and bring that to the line? Because, you know, people are going to get injured. And, you know, that's someone who obviously wants to be with the Eagles, unless he's trolling us. He's trolled the Giants before.
Yeah, he has. I mean, at this point, I think the GM down there is being petty to Yannick Ngagwe. I don't think he's going to get rid of him at all. I think he's going to tease him. I think he's going to be like, oh, a week before the season, we might get rid of you. Nah, I think he's going to play it down for Jacksonville.
He's the most underrated, one of the most underrated players in the league.
Yeah.
And then you have Jadeveon Clowney, just to throw that out there. He hasn't even been signed yet. He's asking way too much money. He's turning into I think people are looking at him as almost a liability. It looks like he's always targeting quarterbacks. He was going after Aaron Rodgers constantly and not just going after him as a player's responsibility on defense. I mean, literally targeting Aaron Rodgers. And I'm so glad the Packers won that game as well.
I mean, to be honest with you, I'm okay with – I hate saying this because he did it to Wentz, but I'm okay with a defensive player trying to take out their best player. I'm okay with that. Just don't get suspended and try not to get caught, you know, but which he obviously did in the playoff game. He didn't get caught. He did the right thing, and he stayed in the game, and I got to give him props to it, even though he's a scumbag. But with that being said, I think Jadeveon Clowney is kind of overrated for being picked at number one. I think that he's asking for way too much money, and he really hasn't lived up to the hype. He hasn't. Now, if you give
he's good. He's good, but he's not worth that money at all.
No.
Not at all. He's good, maybe even great. Just slightly on that edge of being great for but he's just I don't see him making that type of money. You're asking. Look at Robbie Anderson, was begging close to $15 million a year, and what did he settle for? Like $11 million. These players are begging for way too much money that we're like, no, dude. And eventually he's gonna have to settle down with some team. It could be almost anyone at this point. God, I wouldn't even be surprised if the Eagles were like, hey, come over here, some crazy thing, but they won't do that for, you know, fan reasons, because we would literally torch the Howie's house on fire.
Hey, I think,
but I wouldn't be surprised.
I think it's a possibility. I think he could be in midnight green because, you know, you can never get too many defensive linemen, edge rushers. So I mean, it's definitely a possibility in my book. Now I saw a comment in here.
We're gonna see a picture of him having dinner with Wentz.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, I'm sorry. You never know with this franchise at all. It's funny.
No, you don't. And Sean Maz asks, says, I think we should sign Logan Ryan. Our secondary would be stacked. I'm for Logan Ryan, but listen, I'm not the GM of the Philadelphia Eagles, and the GM of the Philadelphia Eagles completely goes backwards of what I want to do. So I couldn't tell you what he's trying to do next at this point. But
you know, I don't think we need Logan Ryan. I mean, I think it would be a good addition to our defense, but we got Nickel Robbie Coleman for a reason. I forgot to add him into when we were talking about the defensive back. I mean, I think we're stacked all around. I don't think there's a position that's to be concerned about, but we're going to have, this is all going to fall down to Jim Schwartz. How well can Jim Schwartz formulate this defense and forgo changes with other offenses? You know, we got killed on trick plays last season. You know, Miami Dolphins, potentially, if they don't get that trick play, we win that game.
Yeah.
New England Patriots ran a huge trick play against us. There was big things last year. You know, the record is what it is at the end of the day. Not always the best team wins. But when it comes down to the secondary, I'm fine without not getting Logan Ryan. I mean, I think we're stacked all around. This is the most stacked Eagles defense I've seen since having Asante Samuel on board years ago. Yeah. Honestly.
It's honestly about the pressure. Always has been, always will be. If the pressure gets there, you're going to have a great defense. If it doesn't, your defense is going to be suspect at best. And that's how the Philadelphia Eagles philosophy has always been. You know, they don't value the linebacker position like ever. The corners are always like kind of average. The last great corner we had, like you said, was Asante Samuel. So we tried the Nnamdi Asomugha experience. That didn't work. We tried the DRC experience. That didn't work. Sheldon Brown, I loved Sheldon Brown personally, but we didn't see value in him anymore, so we got rid of him. We got rid of B-Dawk when he was there for safety. I mean, there's been a number of moves that the Philadelphia Eagles have made that I haven't agreed with. But, you know, like I said.
No, how'd you feel about the Malcolm Jenkins going back to the Saints? Were you happy about that because a little bit too much money or –
Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, him going back to the Saints makes sense because that's where he started. That's where he was drafted. But the thing about Malcolm Jenkins is, you know, he was so loved here, just like Brian Dawkins. Not as much on the level as Brian Dawkins, although I think he should be there because he won a Super Bowl. But I understand why he left. You know, he just wanted – I feel like his time ran his course here, if that makes any sense. You know, he just wanted to go back where he's drafted.
Now, what's going on? I'm bringing up linebackers, and the best one I can think of most recently was Michael Kendricks, to say the least, and he had an insider trading detail. I'm trying to read about his court case, and they always got pushed back. What happened with him? I mean, we could have almost kept him on the squad and had a better linebacker core last year. What's going on? He's not even in prison yet. He hasn't even been sentenced. I know it's an inevitable matter of time.
Yeah, he's not going to be on the NFL roster until he's out of jail, and until he gets sentenced, you know, it just keeps prolonging it, you know, prolongs it, and it's going to be at least 12 to 18 months. Insider trading is a big deal, and there's no way he could get out of that. Martha Stewart didn't get out of it. He's not going to get out of it either. So he's going to go away for a long time. He might as well just start now because he's just getting older. So
he's just prolonging it. Yeah, I would get it done as early as possible and just get out of there and start my life, you know, what's going on, because he could still huge potential in the NFL to play, and it was kind of sad to see him do that because it's like, damn, bro, like you helped us to our first Super Bowl trophy, and then that happens, and it's like, you didn't mean to do that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, everyone loves money. Let's be real. Everyone loves money, but it's like at that point you're being a little bit too greedy because you're dumping millions on a stock you know it's going to go up, and then you pull it out as soon as it starts to sell off, and it's too obvious. It's just way too obvious. Apparently, he did it like 6 separate times, and at that point, you're just weird.
He was already making so much money, but the thing is, in life, you can never make enough money, and if you're not aspiring for the next goal, you know, you're not doing something. You're sitting back when other people are making moves while you're just, you're not doing anything.
Jock Talk on YouTube asks, how do we feel about the Kayvon Wallace pick?
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. I think we got to steal. out of Clemson, literally. Potentially, I don't want to say everyone's like, hey, the last safety we brought out was Weapon X, Brian Dawkins out of Clemson. But this dude was a freaking monster on Clemson. I mean, if you watch his highlight reel, he literally every game.
Yeah, he was.
Absolute beast. I mean, a hard hitter. I mean, he's almost.
Now, obviously, my problem is him dropping to the 4th round. Obviously, you have flaws if you drop that far. Now, in the professional level, it may come. You may play like a level like Antonio Brown. He was picked in the 6th round out of Central Michigan. He turned into one of the best wide receivers in NFL history. You never know. But going to the 4th round, obviously other teams didn't like him. So I mean, if Brian Dawkins is talking him up and praising him because he went to Clemson, I guess I have to roll with B-Dawk's appraisal, but at the same time, I just don't know. I can't say I love something just because someone said he's going to be awesome. I got to see him on the field.
I noticed like one out of every fourth through 7th round, like one of those players out of a draft always ends up one or two of them always ends up shining. So I always had that little glimmer of hope. So you have Jalen Mills, a 7th round draft pick. Not saying he's absolutely one of the best defenders. He's all right. He's on that borderline good. I have high potential for him. Like I said, the player I'm a little bit more excited about is Darius Taylor. Instead of one of those gut feelings that he could get a starting position and just go right off the bat. And it's like, what do you have to lose in that linebacker position? Besides penalties, of course.
Yeah, I mean, our starting linebacker right now is Nate Gary. So how does that make you feel? I mean, you look at that and it's like, yeah, they got to do something about that. So
I say it's not the god awful worst thing, scum of the earth, but I think it does. What's his other name? TJ. What's his name? TJ is the other guy.
yeah,
TJ Edwards or
yeah,
TJ Edwards, Nate Gary.
just
Yeah,
bring back Brad.
Duke Riley. It's not
Yeah.
not looking, and Sean Bradley. Sean Bradley out of your favorite team. I was gonna say I almost said the Rutgers. No, the Temple Owls, right?
Yeah.
Sean Bradley, Philly native. I don't see him doing anything at all. I'm shutting him down from day one.
Weird Temple guy. Is he any good? Bradley? Not really.
It's all right. I don't have praise for him. Was he 6th, 7th round pick? I'm just not excited over him. I've seen him. He's had, like any player in the 6th round and beyond, they have far too many flaws. If you're that late in the
I agree.
round, and I don't think he's going to be one of those guys that just comes out and just. I hope he does the best. Anyone on the Eagles team, I wish for the best.
I mean, they value linebacking so poorly on this team. They started Casey Matthews, who I believe was a 5th round pick at middle linebacker in 2011. So, yeah.
Can we switch that with Clay Matthews? I would have killed for that any day of the week 6 years ago. Not now. I mean,
yeah, I think that's what they're trying to get
That's
out.
the move I can see this team making. I mean, yeah, we're trying to get out of that age group gap, which makes me question. It's like we're still kind of riding around. Like we pick up Marcus Goodwin and we're like, oh, we're trying to go young. And we're like, oh, we're trying to get wide receiver heavy in the draft, but then we get Jalen Hurts. This team, whatever you expect the Eagles to do,
They do the opposite. Yep.
It's that simple.
It's like I didn't even wait to watch on ESPN what they were picking or NFL Network or wherever the hell I was watching. I saw on Twitter Jimmy Kemsky tweeted. He was like, "This is not a joke. They are selecting Jalen Hurts." I was like, "Yeah, you're pulling my leg."
I was watching. I watched the entire first, second, third, and after that was like viewing in and out. And as the pick came across for the Cowboys, I'm like, if we do not trade with the Falcons right now, we're not getting CeeDee Lamb. And I saw that fucking smirk on Jerry Jones' face. Sorry, I don't know if I can curse on this.
No, yeah, you can.
But I saw that smirk on Jerry Jones' face. Cool. And I was like, oh my God. Those assholes, they're going to steal CeeDee Lamb, and they don't even necessarily need him.
Yep.
Just going to fuel that debate for Dak. They're going to make him look better than what he really is, and I hate it.
Yeah, I mean, Dak without Travis Frederick, I don't know how much it's going to help him, but honestly, whatever. I mean, we traded with Dallas. We actually traded with Dallas in this draft for them to get their
know.
So, I mean, I don't know. What would you, overall, Cody, what would you give the draft for the Eagles? Overall,
I'm the borderline. I'm excited. I try to remain optimistic as anything with this team, as any Eagles fan. But my mind changes back and forth constantly. And are we on a grading scale like A through F? That type of grading for the Eagles?
Yeah.
This is a C plus B minus draft in my opinion, just because of the Jalen Hurts pick. It's a wild card thing. And it just contradicts itself. Like I said, it either says you made a mistake giving Wentz $100 million, over $100 million last year, or you made the mistake drafting Jalen Hurts, which is going to hurt us later down the line because you could have gotten a different player. So, C plus.
C plus, B minus.
C plus, B minus, right around there. It's like 79, 80% range.
Yeah. I mean,
how about you?
If Jalen Hurts wasn't selected and it was anybody else, it would have been an A plus. But since Jalen Hurts was selected there, I'd have to give it a B minus as well.
And the only reason why it drops that low to the potential C range is like you said, Jalen Hurts, a 2nd round pick. People got to realize every team, the majority of teams get the 1st round pick for the 32 teams, and then you got players that still could add 1st round capability at T. Higgins and another wide receiver go off the board. Instantly in the 2nd round. So you have all potential starters going down the line right there. And I I forgot to ask if you weren't going to pick Jalen Hurts in that spot. I can't fully recall who was all available, but what would you have went at that position? What position would you went specifically?
I probably would have went either linebacker, offensive line, or possibly safety. I wouldn't
I
went.
was thinking center, yeah, for Jason Kelsey because he's getting a little bit older now, potential replacement down the line, but
Yeah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't have went quarterback in general at that pick. I would have waited till the third or fourth round. It just the more I think about it, the more I just want to put my fist through a wall. To be honest, it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense, dude. It's bad.
No, dude, the amount of times the Eagles have made me put a hole through the wall. Oh man, I love this team, but I hate them so much at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. I guess we have to wait. I don't know if this quarantine is going to be over by football season. I hope so. But yeah, before we get out of here, what are your schedule predictions for the Eagles and overall record? Well, not schedule predictions, but overall.
Overall record. I still think it's too early to tell, but I mean, I will give you a broad. I'll drop my prediction right now, and I always give an explanation before I give the prediction. So, right now, this team injuries riddle us every year, but at the same sense, we got new wide receivers in. We have one of the speediest offenses in the NFL right now. You got Carson Wentz, who stayed healthy the whole last season. Throw the concussion aside. You have a whole revamped secondary. You have a stacked defensive line. You have one of the best O-line in the NFL. That being said, you're going against NFC East coaches that are all brand new to the system. And because of coronavirus, it's screwing up the chemistry working with these players. Virtual isn't anything. Social human interaction and training is very pivotal when it comes to the success of an NFL organization. So we have the edge right now.
Right.
We have the edge by a slight margin, and we've snuck into the playoffs at 9-7, 2 years in a row. I'm not complaining to get in the playoffs at 9-7, but I believe we're not.
They call in the
what is
background.
that?
It's too fucking loud.
I forget. Is it the playoff format that's changing this year, or is
Yeah.
it still like an 8-8 possible thing? It's just the playoffs that are changing, and then the record changes coming later on.
Yeah, it's still a 16-game season, but the playoff format is changing this year.
Okay, so mountain, of course, the mountain for this team because of the great defense. I'm very impressed with the defense and the speedy wide receivers. The mountain is 12-4.
Sure.
The bottom of the barrel is 7-9, which isn't too terrible if you look at it. But my realistic choice is 10-6. Cowboys right behind us, that 9-7, and whatever happens with the Redskins and the Giants. But the Redskins are going to be moving up there. Trust me, they're going to be a competition. Every team is going to be a competition. Daniel Jones going to his second year. Kyle Murray. Sorry, I meant to say Dwayne Haskins going into his second year. New head coaches. Ron Rivera is a fantastic. What?
Or Kyle Allen. I think it's going to be between them two, duking it out.
Oh man, yeah. Regardless, and then you have Dak Prescott and an extremely stacked offense, but they all have rookie head coaches, and it takes time to adjust. Usually, I don't know if you want to bring up a record when someone brings in a rookie head coach, but I don't think it fares too well. I mean, recently Doug Peterson was a rookie head coach, started 3-0, and then would drop to 7-9.
Yeah, because of
time to build the chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to bring the chemistry. So 10-6 seems like a possible thing right now, and I don't want to favor the Eagles all the time. It just the coaching is my ultimate decision for that. Now, hey, I've talked enough. What's your prediction?
All right, my prediction is the same prediction as it was last week. I don't like the Jalen Hurts pick, but on paper, this Philadelphia Eagles team, if you're not basing it off of not having linebackers, because honestly, at the end of the day, if you score enough points like the Kansas City Chiefs have proved in the Super Bowl, defense doesn't matter as much. So if you score a ton of points with our track meet of players that we have, I think the Philadelphia Eagles could potentially be 12-4, 13-3 this year. I really do. I mean, this is basing. My prediction's basing off of if Carson Wentz can stay healthy. If Carson Wentz can stay healthy and all these players around him can stay healthy, 13-3. I truly believe that. And I just I feel like I agree with everything you said about the other members in the division. You have Joe Judge New York Giants, you have Ron Rivera, the Washington Redskins, and you have what's his name, Mike McCarthy, who couldn't do anything with Aaron Rodgers, one of the best QBs of all time. So I mean, he had one Super Bowl, and that was because they had a wild card and they got hot. So
and
I
they
mean,
haven't drafted a wide receiver in the first round. It says so much about Aaron Rodgers. Can we all admit that he's literally one of the best quarterbacks to play the game of football?
I
don't know
actually
if some people, I see the hate towards him, and I think he's just an absolute.
I've
God,
said
I haven't seen anything Aaron Rodgers can't do. I mean, one of the most clutchest quarterbacks I've ever seen.
I've said numerous times that this guy had help. Like, look at his team in 2011. They were 15-1. Obviously, they lost to the Giants because the Giants, they get hot. They don't do anything during the regular season, then they get hot. They were 15-1 because he had all that talent around him. If you put talent around him, if he was in New England all those years with Bill Belichick, I think they have 8 rings. I really do.
Oh, undoubtedly, easily.
Yeah, he's an amazing talent. But
it's the same argument. You can switch a couple quarterbacks around and do a couple different things here and there, but I think this season has high hopes, and I pray that coronavirus dies down and we get back to football, as soon as possible. Honestly,
the last 10 years, nobody repeat the NFC East. Do you think it breaks this year? The Philly Talk podcast asked this. They're pretty big on YouTube. Shout out to them. They asked that question. Yeah, what do you think? Because I personally, yeah.
I'm sorry, you guys froze for the last 10 seconds. I lost everything you just said.
Yeah, no, I figured that. That's why I started talking to you. The question was last 10 years.
Right.
Last 10 years, nobody repeat the NFC East. Do you think it breaks this year? Do you think we break it?
And, I'm hoping for the best right now. I hate making season predictions when it's not even May at the moment, and we haven't had training camp and OTAs and preseason yet because freak injuries can happen at any moment. But based on the roster, based on how things are working with the other, we froze for a second, rookie head coaches for a new team. I just think we have the edge right now, and I think we could be a repeat winner for once. And I've never called the Eagles a winner every season in a row. It's just we're on a hot streak right now, especially getting into the playoffs every single year and even sneaking in. And maybe this is the year finally we get back to that 2017 philosophy, start having fun out in the field again, staying healthy as best as we can. And I'm excited. It's going to be a roller coaster ride. You know how it is in Philly.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm pumping my chest to watch UFC next weekend because I miss sports so much. It's one of my favorite things to watch, and they're finally gonna have sports. So,
I mean, I'm gonna be watching that too. And I'm not even a big UFC fan. I'm all football and basketball. But hey, I'm excited for that as well.
Yep, I know, man. We want sports back. Hopefully, everything gets fixed soon, and yeah, we'll see what happens. I personally think that the NFL season is gonna get underway on time. But obviously not having the fans in the crowd, I don't really prefer that. Like everyone's saying it's better than nothing, but you have to see that the fans really dictate the games, and the results are definitely different. It's like you don't even have a home field advantage anymore,
It even gives me goosebumps listening to the fans. If I'm not present at the game and I hear those cheers, I mean, there's nothing that's like Christmas to my ears, literally. Yeah. Going to the Redskins game, even though I was there in the moment, just watching the highlights from, and you could bring up any game an example. The fans are literally almost imagine you're just not hearing anything. You're just hearing the announcers. There's nothing, love it. I absolutely love it. And it's a danger to the opposing teams. It gives them an advantage in a way. They're not hearing any cheating or any cheering or anything.
Right.
So, I mean, I pray the fans are able to go in attendance. Maybe they could work out a contingency plan where they have to stay separated and be really, I don't know, wear masks. Anything to get the fans there with health obviously prioritized.
Yeah, I mean, they're talking about casinos like having plexiglass between the dealers.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're opening up casinos soon. You know how that is. The gamblers are going to be rolling in there.
Jesus Christ. Whatever. But with that being said, yeah, Birdsoverbirds, 28,400 followers on Instagram. Go get them a follow. Go get them a follow on Facebook.
And we expanded to Facebook as well. We're on Twitter too. So
yeah.
Hey guys, thank you for having me on the show, dude.
Yeah, I mean,
appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, dude. I mean, you amassed a big fan base. Obviously, I've known you for a while off of here, and yeah, I wish you nothing but the best of luck, and I'll try to have you on here as much as possible. But with that being said, we are out of here. Fly Eagles fly, and yeah, hopefully we get the season underway on time. Peace, guys.